Hey kids, welcome to this week's Midweek Update on June 3rd, the Feast of St. Charles Lwanga and Companions. We have a kind of a handful of information that I'd like to share with you as I consult my notes here. First, I want to share my joy in being back for public masses. Granted, our attendance has been steeply restricted. However, to be praying daily mass within our church with our faithful is is fantastic. It's so much better than praying alone within my house chapel, and actually being able to be in connection with the family of faith, even if it is a small percentage of you. So, thanks be to God, we're moving in the right direction. And, I couldn't do it without the work of our reopening team. They've been working very hard over the course of these past couple of weeks, taking the directives from the diocese and applying them as balanced as possible for our parish for our gradual and safe reopening. But also a big thank you to the volunteers. We have a handful of volunteers who have already signed up to assist in the facilitation of the liturgy itself. And this is helpful for directing people into the proper places, kind of being an information point for those who maybe are coming back for the first time and they see, tape here and a sign there and a hand sanitizer randomly here, sort of thing. So it's a good resource to assist with the questions for those of you who are coming for the first time. Um, Also, we are thankful because we're beginning to embark upon that authentic language of prayer where the priests and the people are together, united at our altar, which was consecrated under the watchful intercession of Saints Peter and Paul for the sake of our growth in the faith. And that's a beautiful gift to be drawn back to that again. And just know that my excitement and my anticipation is that we are hopeful that our gradual and safe reopening continues to be a prayerful experience for all, that some of the different parameters aren't a distraction. We're trying to put ourselves into the place of the one who prays and to mitigate the visual obstacles so that when you're sitting in your pew, things feel normal, right? So keep praying for us. We're praying for you, and we hope to have you to Mass very soon. Next, I want to talk about Flocknote for a minute. When I had put out a deeper invitation for the sake of more people to sign up for Flocknote, we saw an increase of about 300 to 400 families, I believe, had increased viewership, readership, if you will. Our statistics on our messaging has been very good. So I'm very pleased to see that our messages are being opened, are being read at a high percentage. So thank you for being on point with that. I have a little confession to make. We've been breaking some Flocknote rules. Okay, we've been sending Flocknotes more than we want to. They've been including information more than we want to be giving. It's just for us as the sender of the Flocknote, it seems like it could be overwhelming to you, the parishioner. Um, there's a lot of transition going on right now, and there's a lot of details that go with that. And we do have a lot of needs within this time. So know that the way that we're using Flocknote now is is intentional. We are restricting information in the sense of choosing precisely what to be sending to you. And we thank you for your patience and for your perseverance as you seek to follow the details of what we're sharing so that we can be on the same page as we transition back to fuller and fuller public worship. Um, So very good. If you have any questions about the things that you're reading, feel free to reach out to us. If it's regarding the reopening, reopen at sspcarry.org, and we'll be back to you as soon as we can. Again, our volunteers on the reopening team are working extremely hard, and all of this sacrifice is so that we can bring our family back into a fuller public life of prayer. Wanted to take a moment for some prayer opportunities. So, wanted to just kind of review where we were at with that. Our online opportunities are going to shift a little. The content will remain the same, but the way we put it out will be just a touch different. So, our YouTube Mass on Sundays will actually appear on YouTube first as a live stream on 4:30 Saturday evening Mass. So we'll have that Mass live streamed, and then that video will automatically be saved and loaded onto YouTube to be watched uh, for the following Sunday for the next day. So know that the Sunday Mass online will be a little bit earlier for you, and if you're at the 4:30 on Saturday, just know you might be famous, right? You could be YouTube famous. I love it. So that's good there. YouTube, we're going to keep our midweek updates going. I think this is an important forum, and it permits a little bit of FaceTime, as limited as that is, in its kind of genuine contact. At least it's still, it feels a little more personal than just chunking out a 500-word email, So it's a little more human in that regard. On Facebook, I took the daily May rosary, and I wanted to keep that daily prayer opportunity. And so I've switched that into a daily 8:45 a.m. Facebook Live broadcast of the rosary. And that could be, you could pray that with me at 8:45, or when I'm done recording, it takes a few minutes to kind of like upload, and then you can watch it anytime you want online there. So, so that's available to you. And then on our website, we still have our Liturgy of the Word recording, our podcast available for you. And this is the daily readings and prayers of the liturgy, and a little homily as well for those of you who can't make it to daily Mass, or those who would like to come to daily Mass, but because of any health concerns or boundaries, you don't feel it's safe to come back yet, which we totally understand. So please know that that's there and use it. So there you go. Our prayer opportunities in person. So we have our daily masses at 6:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. We've put no restriction on how many times you can sign up for those, because typically our regular crowd is very consistent traditionally, and the permission to increase our numbers a bit lets that happen a little more naturally. Secondly, regarding daily Mass, beginning Monday, June 8th, we won't require you to sign up online for daily Masses. Okay, so that's only for daily Masses. But when you come in, you'll still have to check in, kind of give us your name, and we'll have to record that. That's a request of the diocese in case we do have an outbreak, we could trace a little easier. So, so that's all that's for. Okay. Weekend Masses in English, we have the 4:30 and the 6 p.m. on Saturday, and then our regular Sunday Mass times 8, 9:30, 11, and 5, and then we added a 6:30 p.m. To that schedule. This weekend we're going to be bumping it up to a 50-person limit, and right now in June we want to limit each household one weekend Mass experience in the month of June, because our regular weekend Mass attendance is 1,400 people, and the way that we have Mass available now, we're not even coming close to that. Like, we're way less than 1,000. So I really do want to give an opportunity for all families to have at least an experience on the weekend. But if you have the flexibility, please come to a daily Mass. Again, that's still a 50% limit, but since we don't typically go that high, we're just going to kind of loosen our sign up protocol, if you will, and then continue to welcome the crowds for the daily mass. Confessions, because things have been shifting, confession times are shifting because of the hygiene protocols right now, and it's just easy, and it's requires extra volunteers whenever anybody comes into the church. We're going to keep confessions at this time in a drive-up manner. So we're gonna do that, and that'll be just fine. It's not the ideal. It's not what we want to have happen permanently. We should be in a confessional, but at this time, it's much easier on the life of the parish and for scheduling, and so we'll stick with that for right now. Okay. Uh, Very good. So that's confessions. That'll be drive up Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. So an hour and a half window. Over the course of the past few weeks, when we have had that, our numbers have been a bit lower. That's something that is a sign to us that like the pace has kind of leveled out a little bit, which is okay. It means that the rush has kind of been served, and now that regular habit is being served through the drive-through confession. So we want to make that available again and keep it available. It's our only confession opportunity during the week. So we want to make sure that's available to you. Very good. And now our final point that I'd like to cover is why the number 50? Why did we go with a 50-person capacity beginning this upcoming weekend and for our daily masses? Well, this past Monday, I think Monday mid-morning, we received an update from the bishop that permitted us to open our churches to 30% of our maximum occupancy. And in the midst of the COVID season, we reconnected with our fire inspector to double check our official capacity of the church. So our total capacity is 950, and that took a lot of measuring because we have a round church and every pew is a different size. So it was a kind of a fun undertaking. But our total capacity is 950. 30% would be 285. But if we put 285 in the church, we would have to assign you seats to make sure that everybody fit and that social distancing could happen as well. So the number that we have right now, the way that we kind of have some pews roped off, is 170 is kind of the number that we're looking at right now for our entire church and the social distancing model that we have. So 50 though, why did we go from 10 to 50 and not like 100 or 150 sort of thing? One of the critical elements is the volunteers who assist us. So the greeter who welcomes you in, who kind of checks you in, whether you had a pre-sign up. Well, for weekend masses, it would all be pre-sign up. So whether you've pre-signed up for mass, and then to kind of check that you were there, and then for the ushers to kind of guide you to your seats to help you be seated well, if you will. As our numbers increase, we'll have to kind of help kind of space households and individuals out, and we have a few favorite pews for different sized households or individuals, so have a little game plan in that regard. But then the usher also assists with some of the directions for communion, and as we increase in numbers, the usher will be helpful as we will dismiss for exiting the church as well. And so essentially each section of pews, we have 6 major sections of pews across the entire church. Right now we have one usher doing the 2 center aisles, but as we grow we'll need a couple more ushers, more people, more pews are sat in, more pews will need to be sanitized after the mass, so we'll need more cleaners, more people coming in the door, and we want to move them more quickly, so we'll probably have to get an additional greeter or 2 per Mass. So 50 was a number that was selected that we could keep our same count of volunteers, but maximize the seating within those two central areas of the church. Plus, it was a kind of a safe step so as not to overwhelm our volunteers, right at the beginning, and to make sure that, we're gradual and safe as we reopen and return to prayer. Um, we would like to, increase that number as quickly as possible, but we don't want to put undue burden on the volunteers that we have. We do want to populate our volunteer list a bit more so that we can kind of schedule more freely across all of the times of prayer within the church, and we're attentive to how kind of crowd movements happen as well. So, um, kind of a lot of elements that go into it, but hopefully we can grow from the next step quickly. But the primary thing keeping us where we're at is the number of people who are volunteering. So if you have been at Mass yourself, you're more, a lot of the question marks are taken out of your imagination because you've seen the church, you see how we kind of tape different things off, you kind of see how the people move in the church. So it's a little more comfortable to you. A person who has not been to Mass yet, but is willing to volunteer, but has a lot of question marks, maybe not as quickly to approach us with that. So if you're attending Mass already, I'd strongly encourage you to volunteer. Um, it would be super helpful for us. There's only one stipulation on the volunteers that the diocese has asked of us, and that is that parishioners 65 and older not have a volunteer position with the Mass. They can attend Mass accordingly, but also know that you're not mandated to be at Mass. The dispensation is still in place. So we really do want you to be safe and not to be put at unnecessary risk. The volunteer is not breaking any rules of social distancing. Hand sanitizer is used, masks are being worn, but still the 65 and older volunteer does come into contact with more people, and we don't want to increase any health risks in that way. So we're calling on those 64 and younger to help us out so that we can continue to grow our size of public masses. Got to check my notes. I don't have them memorized. It's been a busy day. Okay. Yesterday, so on Tuesday, we had sent a very robust Flocknote. And the primary push of that was to identify two things. One, an increased permission of attendance at public masses, and two, an invitation for volunteers to reach out to us to sign up. Some volunteers need to be trained in person because there's just more to be trained upon. But some of the volunteers can simply just read the spreadsheet and then arrive, and the tasks are pretty simple. So look over those documents if you're interested. Let me encourage you. Let me encourage your interest, right? Let me encourage your interest to be a volunteer. If you have any questions, you can email Reopen or Jennifer Dombrowski, and we'll get back to you on that. But please feel free to consider that opportunity. We'll really depend on it in this transitional period of moving back to full public worship at this time. The final element for this message is a note on our DSA, our Diocesan Stewardship Appeal. Many of you may have received envelopes already from the diocese regarding our annual fund drive for the diocese. The diocese, one, needs this money to function. It's what populates their operating budget or their operating income. The offices in the canon law, within liturgy, within marriage and family, within education, within seminarian support, retired priest and religious support, and they've been very mindful of the situation that we're in. Us receiving this information in early June is actually a 1 month postponement of the originally scheduled date within the month of May. So we're appreciative that they gave us a little breathing room from kind of the height of the shutdown, if you will. But also the assessments for each parish have gone down in percentage as much as they reasonably could have, so as to try and lessen the burden on all parishes for the sake of this DSA drive. So if you did not receive an envelope and would like to give to the Diocesan Stewardship Appeal, we're going to have DSA envelopes near the offertory basket when you're at church. Either that or what else am I going to do? Either that or you can drop, go on the DSA website for the diocese. That'll be very helpful. Or you can drop off any donations to our locked mailbox at our parish office. So we'll handle it that way. When you have your envelope completed, you could return it a number of ways. Either you can put it in the offertory basket if you're going to be at Mass this weekend. You can put it in our locked parish center mailbox, which will be an easy drop off for you, or you can mail that in. So a few different options there. If you have any questions, you can email the parish, our finance office, at Kathy Meyer, Kmeiyer at sspp.org, to answer any questions for DSA at this time. But yeah, so thank you for your patience with that. We know it is an economically sensitive time for some. Don't feel the pressure, right? We're gonna, as a parish, we're gonna have to fulfill our assessment total, and we'll keep you updated on that progress. And if your family is in a particularly difficult moment or situation, then that's understandable. But I'll have some financially giving encouragement for the parish in the coming weeks regarding financial status and what we need. So we'll all just pay attention to this, So we'll take it one step at a time. Okay. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Know of my continued prayers for you each day. Be patient, be prayerful, and be joyful. Saints Peter and Paul, pray for us.